When I was a kid, I once heard my grandpa tell someone, "If you were a bird, you would fly backwards." I never understood what he meant until I started learning more about Blake Lively, and suddenly it all made perfect sense. This is what Blake Lively posted this week, while her own federal lawsuit is still hanging over her head. A long reflection about empathy, about how the public destroys people who are struggling, about how Justin Bieber survived years of being picked apart in front of the entire world and came out the other side. She called his Coachella performance healing. She called it beautiful. She called it a reminder that we only seem to care about people after we have already turned their worst moments into entertainment. The reaction was immediate. People saw exactly what she was doing. This post might be the most tone-deaf thing this woman has put on the internet yet, and that is not a low bar at this point. Because this post was not really about Justin Bieber. It was about Blake Lively trying to quietly slide herself into the same category as people who were genuinely chewed up by fame. Justin Bieber just headlined Coachella. If you watched it, you know it was earned. This is a man who went through child stardom, public breakdowns, health struggles, addiction, and years of the media treating his worst moments like entertainment. His comeback was real. People were genuinely moved by it. And Blake Lively looked at all of that and decided it was her moment too. She shared a post about how the world watches entertainers get torn apart and only discovers empathy when it is too late. About how pain becomes entertainment. About how people in the public eye get destroyed just for existing. And somehow we are supposed to hear all of that from Blake Lively without laughing. She talks about empathy the way an arsonist talks about fire safety. This is the same woman whose team walked into the New York Times with a neatly packaged narrative designed to destroy Justin Baldoni's reputation before the public even knew there was a dispute. That was not random internet cruelty. That was not the collective she is suddenly so worried about. That was a calculated, documented, organized media hit. And it is in the court record. This is the same woman who subpoenaed over 100 content creators, regular people. People with small channels, basic equipment, and no army of lawyers behind them. People who suddenly found themselves dragged into a Hollywood legal mess because they had opinions on the internet. She talks about cruelty like she was not out there mailing it certified. This is the same woman who stood beside her husband while he spent real money, real studio resources, and real screen time turning Justin Baldoni into a punchline. For two people who act horrified by bullying, they seem to have a pretty flexible definition of it. And let us not forget that when Princess Kate was privately battling cancer and the internet was losing its mind with speculation, Blake Lively thought that was the perfect time to make a joke about Photoshop and missing royal family members. Not exactly the behavior of someone deeply concerned with compassion, restraint, or what public pressure can do to a person. Her version of empathy works like a free trial. It expires the second somebody else needs it more than she does. But now she wants to talk about empathy. Now she wants to talk about what it costs a person to be consumed by the public. What this post is really trying to do is not subtle. Blake wants to place herself in the same category as Justin Bieber and Britney Spears. People who were genuinely chewed up by fame before they were old enough to understand what was happening. She wants you to look at her and feel the same sadness, the same sympathy, the same protectiveness. Blake Lively is not Britney Spears shaving her head in a parking lot while the world laughs. She is not Justin Bieber getting chased by paparazzi at 19. People are not rejecting Blake's victim narrative because they are cruel. They are rejecting it because they watched her spend months using every bit of power she had. She had the lawyers, the PR team, the media access, the leverage. And in my opinion, from everything I have seen, she came into that production with the intention of taking over the franchise, and nobody is going to tell me different. But here is what really gets me. Every single thing she has accused Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer of doing to her, the digital campaign, the media manipulation, the coordinated narrative, the public pressure, she did all of it to them first, and she did it bigger. She wants to be seen as the victim of digital violence, while the evidence shows me that she was running the playbook. The legal system has already picked apart a substantial portion of what she brought to court, and what is left is a fraction of what she marched in with. That is not what it looks like when someone is being destroyed by a machine. That is what it looks like when someone built one and it stopped working. And now she wants to stand next to people who were genuinely swallowed by forces outside their control and borrow some of their sympathy. Every post like this one does not move the needle towards sympathy. It just adds another data point to a very long pattern. At a certain point, the issue is not that people hate you. It is that they have been paying attention. They watched every move, they read every filing, they saw every headline, and now you are standing on the internet asking them to not believe their own eyes and ears. That is not a PR problem. That is a you problem.
That's my opinion!